Hey everybody, my name is John Gross, the owner of this 1972 MGB. I've had this car for just a few months now. It's actually got a long history with our family. We're almost the original owners. It was purchased new by a guy in Fort Wayne, Indiana. We ended up selling it to my dad, who gave it to my mom as just her daily driver, drove it to the hospital where she worked for a number of years, even in winter in the snow in northern Indiana. Kept up pretty well, but after a few years, my dad decided to just kind of keep it in the garage as kind of a nice weekend toy type car. Over the years, it's become a real collector's item, and it's in such good shape because, it was garage kept for literally decades. I mean, it's only got 50,000 original miles on it, so it looks exactly the way it did when I was a kid.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It is such a beautiful car, and I think it's such a classic for the time that we live in today. I think it's really rare to see these on the road. I think your car is the first one that I've ever actually seen in person.
Yeah,
awesome.
It's rare to see an MG on the road, especially in this condition. I mean, occasionally you'll see one that's kind of beat up and rusted out, but to find one that's near mint condition is really rare.
What draws you the most to this car over other cars?
Well, I mean, aesthetically, I just like the color. I mean, most people think of a sports car as being red, and that's fine, but I kind of like this. It's called mallard green, but some people will call it British racing green. But I like the color, I like the contrast with the camel interior. But for me, it's the sentimental value. Just, this is kind of a car that my mom, I know, always wanted me to have or my sister to have, and so that's one of the reasons I think my dad just wanted to keep it, for as long as he could and keep it nice. And he finally got to the point where he couldn't even get in and out of the car, much less really drive it, because it is kind of difficult to drive, not just because it's a manual transmission, but it doesn't have power steering. The steering wheel is really low. It almost touches your knees. So if you're a tall person like me, it can be difficult. And actually, one thing I've found is when I'm driving it, the top of the windshield is right in my line of vision. And so I either have to sit way up with my head above the windshield, which looks silly, or slump way down in the seat. Otherwise, when I pull up the stoplights, it's pretty dangerous because I can't see the light, so.
Should get you a booster seat.
Yeah, exactly. It's challenging to drive, so.
I think last time we did this interview, I asked you, would you and your wife, dress up as famous British people and, get in the car and drive around?
Yeah, there's actually, so maybe we would, I don't know, she'd probably be embarrassed to do that, but maybe I would too, I don't know. But there is supposedly some sort of an organization here in Houston where people dress up like that, like the men in tuxedos and women in similar formal attire, and they drive around the city. There's like a certain route that they do, and I want to say that it's primarily British cars or MGs, hence kind of the tuxedo formal look, to match the British legacy. But yeah, I need to get in touch with the guy that mentioned that to me and find out when that is, because yeah, I would totally do that. That'd be cool.
That is awesome. When you do
James
that,
Bond look.
If your wife doesn't want to do it, I will go with you.
You can put the dress on, the gown, and ride with me. That'd be good.
I guess I'll do that. While Mr. John is taking a sip of his Lap 24 coffee, we wanted to tell you guys the sponsor of today's video, which is Lap 24 Coffee. That's my coffee brand. So currently we have our Costa Rican and Brazilian blend. It's called the Daily Driver. You can go to lap24coffee.com and get your bags today. Use promo code lap24coffee and get a 15% discount. Mr. John has already explained how great our cold brew is, which we are working currently on getting out to the masses for subscription. So stay tuned for that. Sign up at lap24coffee.com for our emails to stay up to date, and you guys will get to participate in delicious cold brew drinking. We hope you guys enjoy this interview. We will see you guys next time. If you could have any celebrity ride shotgun with you, who would it be and why?
Well, the first thing that came to my mind, I was thinking about James Bond.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I guess that would be Daniel Craig, right? And my wife actually has a secret crush on Daniel Craig. So
I do too.
It's kind of a love-hate relationship I have with him. I like 007, but actually that kind of comes to mind. Like, it'd be kind of cool to have someone British in the car, someone like that, Cool. Actually, it's funny that you mentioned that, or that I mentioned it about British. So, last week at the car show, when I met you guys, there was a British guy that came by, really admired the car, and he noticed the badge on the side here, which says British Leyland. And that company, Leyland, was a conglomerate of a bunch of older British companies, car companies that went out of business, that started going out of business as they kind of merged together for strength and formed one called Leyland. And it wasn't very successful either. And this British guy kind of joked, and he said, "Oh my gosh, the Leyland badge." He's like, "That's proof that at least one car survived that era,
Yeah.
right?" So here you go. I didn't know it was that rare.
That is interesting. That's actually kind of cool that you truly have a piece of history in your hands. What does it feel like to be able to own a piece of history?
Well, I mean, I think last time we talked, you were asking me, would I ever consider selling the car, and it's like, well, I mean, I guess everything has a price. If somebody made some ridiculous offer, if you took it to auction, there's always that one guy that's got gazillions of dollars and he's got to have that model and that color and whatever, and drive the price up. But really, I mean, I would never want to sell this because it has so much sentimental value to me, I mean, it's just, I don't know. I like to keep this for generations, have my kids take it and their kids and just keep it going.
Yeah, I think that's such a cool thing to be able to pass down the things that you stewarded well to your kids and let them steward it well and pass it on to their kids. That's such a cool experience. So
well, that's why I like going to those car shows, because it's people who appreciate old cars and do everything they can to maintain them. It's like antiques. I mean, because that's essentially what they are.
Yeah, that's a great point. I got 2 more questions because I know it's hot out here.
Yeah,
so.
I wore the hat to keep the sweat from rolling down my eyes.
I'm pouring sweat too.
It's Texas in September, which everybody thinks that's fall, but not quite. Fall doesn't start tomorrow, I guess, so it's still 95 here.
All right, here is my second to last question. What's the most memorable road trip or adventure you've taken with this car?
My dad will appreciate this if he sees the video, that, when I was a kid, like junior high, early high school, this car was kind of off limits, right? It was like a toy car that he wanted to save, and so we could only drive it with permission. But a good friend of mine down the street and I took it out for a joyride, and I have no idea why my dad was coming home at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Wednesday in the summer or something, whenever that was, but he like pulled up behind us as we pulled into the driveway, and we got in major trouble for that. So that's the one adventure I guess we had. It's kind of like the what's the movie? Ferris Bueller's Day Off, although we didn't tow the car, fortunately. Yeah.
Well, that's a great story, and I really appreciate this interview, getting to talk to you about the MG. I have one last question. Okay. How was your coffee today?
It was great. No, great. I mean, Lap 24 coffee, good stuff. This is it's intended to be kind of an iced coffee. That's what I would do, is pour it over ice. But no, it's good stuff. Love it.
Great. Would you drink this while you were driving your MG?
Totally. Well, got to have 2 hands on the wheel, so I'd have to do it with my knees or something. But safety first.
I accept that. But that was great. It was great getting to talk to you. I'm excited to
likewise
get to see this car in action.